If you attend a friend's church and have taken communion, been baptized, prayed at an altar, gone to a camp meeting, or been part of a church revival, you have David Updegraff to thank. His innovations, joined with an evangelical and holiness fervor, helped the Evangelical Friends Church Eastern Region innovate for the sake of the gospel. David Updegraff was born in Mount Pleasant, Ohio in 1830. One of his grandfathers was a delegate to Ohio's Constitutional Convention and helped write its Bill of Rights in 1802. His other grandfather was the presiding clerk of Ohio Yearly Meeting in 1828. His parents, David and Rebecca, were millers in Mount Pleasant. Updegraff's holiness passion came entirely from his experience with the Lord, but the depth of power and joy, what has been called the witness of the Spirit, eluded him for some time. He sought the Lord late at night until he could genuinely testify that the Lord had freed him from both selfishness and works. He wrote, "I had peace with God." That heart transformation changed the direction of Updegraff's life. He could not escape a real sense that the Lord had called him into ministry. Already he was a successful businessman and farmer. Once he stretched out into the ministry, he supported his travels with his own funds, not accepting remuneration for several years. It was in those years that he helped found the precursor of the Christian Holiness Association and emerged as one of its leading speakers. During those travels, he came to view typical Friends' practices, or lack thereof, as provincial and limiting. Updegraff began changing tradition when he was baptized by a Baptist pastor and took communion for the first time. He convinced others in the yearly meeting to do the same. Finally, in 1885, churches from Northeast Ohio and Southern Michigan pressed the delegates at yearly meeting to take a position that allowed believers to follow their own consciences with respect to these practices. 2 years later, friends from around the world met in Richmond, Indiana, to consider what should be done in Ohio over the matter. Updegraff attended the conference but remained relatively quiet. In the end, the Richmond Declaration, as it is known, allowed friends to follow their consciences. Updegraff published his writings in pamphlets and books, practiced altar calls, pastored the Short Creek Church near Mount Pleasant, and raised funds for missionary causes. His passion for innovation really came from a passion for the Lord and for fruitful ministry. Friends of the Evangelical Friends Church Eastern Region today should be so blessed with spiritual passion. With it, direction is set and obstacles are overcome. Innovations maintain Friends' values and doctrine even though they appear in new forms to further both faithfulness and fruitfulness. David Updegraff, a farmer, a businessman, an itinerant minister, a man convinced of peace with God, was also a man who helped guide the friends of yesterday through the changing paths of faith and practice, and helped the friends of today to learn that passionate innovation is both our heritage and our future.